Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this? Maybe? Thanks. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it is time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 28th of April, which is a Thursday. And sorry I missed yesterday. I'm finding that I just can't do a whole lot of things all at the same time. And so if I have other things, there's no way I can trade. And frankly, neither can anybody else. It's there have been some really good pointers in this chat. So if you're coming on, catching this by recording later, you might want to go back and look at this the chat today, because we've had some great pointers. All of the indices in the U.S. are they're playing very well together today, and they're all just kind of tracking right along. It looks like the NQ is a bit of the laggard among these four, and TF is made a good move. I don't know if anybody. I think a lot of people may trade the ES with Nadex on the options, but that had a really good move today. And this VIX can't quite decide what it wants to do. It's trading right now at 1334, but then the markets are going back up again. Yesterday, if you're new to this and you notice we kept telling you to be careful about 2 o'clock yesterday with that FOMAC, and if you weren't real careful, you likely got run over by the bus, because that really causes the markets to jump. The other thing, for those of you who may be a doubting Thomas about how incredibly interrelated these markets are globally, you might put up a chart of the 6A, which is the Aussie dollar, and scroll back to 11 o'clock last night. The Bank of Australia made their equal to the FOMAC announcement, and the Aussie dollar was quite displeased. And if you look at the U.S. indices in that same timeline, you will see they responded correspondingly. So particularly the major central bank announcements for various blocks of global production. And for instance, when the Aussie dollar, when the Bank of Australia, and a couple of days ago it was the Bank of Japan, and oh my goodness, the poor yen. The poor yen got run over and beat up, and oh my goodness, it was dreadful. So when the major banks, and those are listed on the Apex website, there's a news tab, and you can also verify those on the Forex Factory calendar. And there's other places you can find out when these various bank announcements and it's the central bank. I'm not talking about who cares what Wells Fargo says, but when it's their equivalent of the Fed, you need to know when those things are coming out. So anyway, this morning I wanted to point something out to you that you don't see very often, but it is certainly worth noting, because it is so obvious on crude oil. If you look at this 30-minute chart of crude oil has been hovering, literally hovering. It went up here to this major magnet at 45.70, and it has rejected that now 3 times. And on the 3rd time, what do we know about what happens 3 times? It will either, right here, this is the 3rd time it's hit, it's either going to blow through that, or it will come down off of it. But this has been huge today. And 30 minutes, this has been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, it's 4 hours of staying up here. It just does not want to break 45.70. So that will be substantial when it does so. It's been a lot of time right there on that mark. And those kinds of things, when you see that on any market you watch, and it's been sitting there for a long time and it reaches a level where it does not want to break, either up or down, there's something about to happen. You just have to be patient. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is I think Lori put some really cool stuff in about how we keep talking about putting orders in and waiting. This is what I mean by the bus stop. Lori's got her bus stop already figured out, and she puts her order in and waits for the bus to pick her up. If the bus doesn't get that far down the street, well, then you're not going to get a fill, but that's good because you're not in a trade you wish you weren't. But once you get a little more in tune with where these entries are, it's so important to put your order out and just wait for the bus. The bus picks you up if the bus driver gets that far, and if he doesn't, no harm, no foul. And then the other thing, I don't know if anybody picked up the little post. I think it was Craig that posted his screenshot of how he stays focused. And that is one of the best ones I have ever seen. I love that thing. I'm going to make a little dealie and put that on my somewhere in my workspace. I love that. That is super. It's probably the best one I've ever seen. It's very brief, very clear, simple, and quite visual. Then the other thing, somebody asked this morning, and if this person is asking, I forgot who it was. Then there's other people that have the same question and just haven't asked, and that was a reference to needing a $25,000 account to trade, and that is applicable only to straight up options. And it does not mean you can't trade straight up options. It means that if your account, if that's what Apex doesn't right now, we're not trading straight options. That's not to say at some future time that might change, but right now that's not what we're doing. But that reference, if you saw that in the chat, is to what's called a pattern day trader. And it only applies to options. And it's not that you can't trade options with less than $25,000. It's that basically the SEC, in their, my personal opinion, that's why this is my view, massive stupidity, think they are protecting you. And so they basically issue you 3 tickets. And each ticket lasts 5 days. So if you have an account that is less than $25,000 and you are trading straight options, you can use those tickets once the 5 days is up, then the ticket is renewed. But it's to keep people from churning options accounts. Basically, that is massive stupidity, but right now that is the regulation. It does not apply to Nadex. It does not apply to futures contracts. The only thing that is applicable with any kind of limit on Nadex and or futures contracts with Nadex, they issue a certain number of contracts. And so if somebody goes in there, you're certainly limited. For instance, if there's 30 contracts available at the strike you want, and you take out 30 of them, then that's likely gone. Trading futures, the only limitation you're going to have, you don't really need to worry about, because you would have to have enough in your account to leverage, I don't know, 30 to 50 million dollars. So it's kind of a moot point, and you don't need to worry about it. It doesn't apply to any of us. So I hope that helps. And if you are looking for, you can always go to the SEC website, and you can always go to CME about futures, because everything known to mankind is on that CME website. But I think the nomenclature they make with that is a little confusing. So anyway, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff in here. And for tomorrow, we are going to have, there is quite a lot of economic numbers being released tomorrow in Europe. So that starts going off about 2 o'clock in the morning through 8 o'clock in the morning, our time. But at 8:30, there will be some U.S. economic numbers released. These are not massive, massive movers. And also Canadian, which sometimes does affect crude oil if you are trading that early in the morning. And at 9:45, we have Chicago PMI, and then the revised University of Michigan numbers at 10. So it's not a huge thing, but yesterday that FOMAC should have really gotten your attention. Anyway, this has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. I'll see you tomorrow about noon. Thanks.